and so that they became empowered. So yes, I had to sit through very, very hard interviews, and I could feel the pain in my heart, but I kind of just breathed through it, because if I collapse, I don't want them to collapse. And so we're having this journey together. But after each interview, I would just say, thank you, you're an inspiration, you're empowering people, you're sharing your voice. And that was also a reminder to me to keep going. We did 70 interviews and only 17 people made the film, and I think about 15 to 20 of them were victims of human trafficking. And so to talk about self-care, it was really hard. After I came back from the Philippines, I spent 3 weeks there, and I was done. And I was like, I don't even know if I could continue making the film because I was fully done emotionally, mentally, physically. I was just shot. And, you know, it took a few weeks, or actually a month, and I started to review the footage, and then I started to hear their stories, and I'm like, okay, this is why I'm gonna keep going. Because their story needs to be heard. The kids need to get educated in these things. And so, I don't think, even when I went to war, I don't think, I think I got more sleep during wartime than during the human trafficking film. I was sleeping about 2 to 4 hours each night during the film, and you know, you're just dreaming about it, you're so immersed in it. And then, I mean, that was like 2 years pretty much straight in production. And so after the premiere and all of these things, I was like, I'm done. And so, done means I'm taking some time off. And so this is probably, I think, like a 3rd or 4th screening this year, because I'm finally just starting to get back into it again. But definitely time to take care of yourself, meditation practices, hearing stories of inspiration that, you know, inspiring one person can really change the world. So yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it, but it takes a great deal of strength, conviction, and just that light inside of you. Just one little kind of metaphor is be like a lighthouse. You know, be so strong in yourself that you're always shining. Even if it gets dimmed a little bit, you're still providing light. And those that are in the dark can find you. But if you totally lose yourself and get so tired out, no one can get help. So always keep the light on.
Thank you. So as a final question, because we've come to our time, but as a final question, I just wanted to go back to the point that Raksha was making on the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. I really just wanted the thoughts of this panel as to why it is that we are one of 5 countries to not ratify this convention. And why you think we should or should not, or what are your opinions on this? So, share. Yes, the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. I wanted to know your thoughts on this, whether you feel we should be signing it, whether you feel we should not, whether what's going on, why are we one of the 5 countries that are not ratified. Yeah, any thoughts? Share. Oh, yeah, of course not US, you may share.
Okay, so about CEDA, like Nepal government signed it in 1991. So before that, I just wanted to give an example, like we were not allowed to use the name trafficking when we were established in 1987. So if you see ABC, it's not anti-trafficking, it's agroforestry, basic health and cooperative, because we couldn't use the word trafficking at that time. But what happened was, after the Nepal government, they started like signing different international conventions. After they started ratifying, the government now became obliged to international treaties. So now they had to prepare their own action plan. Now they had to report to international bodies, or else they will be fined, they will be compensated for different reasons. So what happened was, then the cases of human trafficking came up, people started registering it, people started fighting for themselves. So that is how I can see change in my country, by signing all this international convention. And now if you talk about CEDA, CEDA is not only about human trafficking. CEDA is about women. It's about equality of women. And I think, like from my perspective, women are not equal anywhere in any part of the world. So having said that, I think like be it the US or be it any other country, like they should sign such international convention which really promotes equality between men and women, and which has all the clauses that empowers women socially, economically, culturally, and with all the different factors. So yes, for me, I think US is one amongst the 5 countries that have not signed, and I think the other 4 countries are Sudan, I'm not sure, but Sudan, Afghanistan, so these are the countries, Somalia. So for me, I think it should be signed. That's my point of view. Thank you.
I'll get in trouble if I talk about this, so I'm gonna. It's you.
Please share.
So if you think women are equal in the United States, then you have not been watching TV for the last month. Amen?
Yeah.
No Baptists? Okay. You got it. You're the expert.
I'm really not the
Yes, you
expert.
are. Yeah. You are right now. I just said you were.
Let me think about how I talk about this intelligently.
I don't talk intelligently, I just talk. But
Well,
seriously.
I think
Been all over
the
the
question
television.
kind of answers itself. Yeah, it's a tough reality to face when you look at the other 5 countries that are on the list. Absolutely, when you see the rhetoric and the vitriol that's happening on a national level, when you see the complete and utter, utter ignoring and devaluing of women and issues impacting women, we have so much victim blaming. It's just so deeply ingrained in our culture. I was meeting with Whitney Anderson, who's the director of the Dragonfly Home. They're kind of the state's leading human trafficking, what would you go? Yeah, service provider, there we go. And she was, I was like, what policies can we introduce? What can we do to kind of make this transitioning out of trafficking life easier? And she's like, well, I thought that I would have no money, or no problem raising money. We're talking about human trafficking. Unfortunately, we're dealing with this misconception that trafficking is, which is a portion of it, but in Oklahoma, isn't necessarily the case that sweet little suburban girls are getting, picked up in a white van and, taken and locked in a closet and, sold for sex. We're talking about women who, from a man's perspective, because he doesn't know any different, are voluntarily dressing slutty and standing on the street corner, and if they wanted a different life, then they could just choose it. It's the pull yourself up by your own bootstraps mentality that has gotten us to where we are today, where we're so desensitized to the vitriol against women. We've come to just kind of accept that this is our burden to bear as women, that we just kind of have to put up with it, make space for it, and that's happening locally, nationally. It's talking about self-care. It's when you can kind of stay in your bubble and kind of just, keep plugging ahead, keep your head down, just keep doing the work. But then when I was researching this and looked at the other states, Afghanistan has more women in their legislature than we do. We love this patriotism, right? We love our country. We love the USA, born and bred and proud to be an American sort of mentality, but we're so far behind. We don't care because we have too many men in power. The reason that we're here is because women's voices are not represented at the table, where decisions are being made, where solutions are being discussed. Plain and simple, we don't have enough women in power, we don't have enough women in leadership, we continue to undervalue their voices. And if I can tell you anything, please never undervalue your voice. You are an expert of your own personal experience, of everything that has happened to you in life, of everything that you've heard and learned and seen. No other person can tell you that you are wrong, that you are not right, that your stories are invalid, that your voice is invalid, that it doesn't have impact, that it doesn't have power. If you start talking about advocacy, it only takes 7 to 8 touches with a legislator to change their mind on how they vote. That means 7 to 8 phone calls, emails, in-person meetings, which are obviously the most effective. We as a room could call a legislator tomorrow and say, we want you to support House Bill 1010. And here's why. I'm a constituent, I'm a voting young millennial, and I'm pissed off, and I'm going to get you out of office just like the teachers did. What did they do? Oklahoma teacher walkout. They got pissed, they stormed the Capitol for 2 weeks, and they voted out every single incumbent who voted against the teacher pay raise bill except for one. So please do not tell me that your voice, your experience, your personal expertise does not matter. That's how we start to shift this stuff, is get women and people represented from all different backgrounds, religions, ethnicities, races, LGBTQ, get them a dang seat at the table and talk. Let them use their voice to help guide these solutions.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say, when I think about equality, I think about basically whose voice is respected in the society. Right. And I think that word, if you really, really dive deep in the word of respect, if you just respect another human being, if you feel like you're respected as a person, we would act a lot differently than we do. So why haven't we signed this, this act against violence against women? Well, because we don't really respect women as a society. I don't feel like, a lot of times I don't feel respected. I don't feel like my voice is heard. And I think, again, it's a matter of your voice is being heard. It's about whose labor is being valued. Who's like you talk about working in nonprofit and not getting paid as much. Why? You're working with the most vulnerable population in the society. Why aren't our teachers getting paid? They work with they take care of our kids. Like, I don't want to take care of my kid all day, right? They take care of our kids all day long. Like, they're with them more than we are. So it's a matter of whose labor we value, whose voice we actually value in this society. And it's just a matter of respect. And I think there is, like, when you really think about who benefits from social basis of respect, we can think about why we do or don't have equality.
Exactly. Does anyone have any final questions before? Also, does the panel, would you like to end with any final thoughts?
How many of you are registered to vote?
Yeah. Woo!
Great
job.
Great. Thank you very much for coming out today. I'd like to present the panelists with something, and also Jana, if you could come up here, that'd be great. Okay, so I'll just make a quick presentation here, real fast, and then we'll get going.
Thank you.
Oh, presents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all for coming. This was really nice to have a discussion with y'all.
So I'd like to thank you all for attending. If you want to eat any more pizza, please finish it. I don't want to take it all. And if you want to come and converse with any of the panelists, they'll stay for a couple of minutes. So please do come up here. Thank you so much. And if you could please give them this round of applause.